because I'm intrigued by learning and not only that, but serving. So I see Hannah's in the building. There's one person in the building. There's our Hannah. Hannah is in the building. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to let people know on Instagram that I'm on, right? Because it's usually Instagrammers that know that I'm on. And if they know I'm on, then they come over to YouTube. I know there's a funky time. And guess what? We got our Dr. Tachi. She's going to be on a moment. And I am so excited. I have some things I want to talk to Dr. Tachi about because she might have some answers for me. She might. I don't know. She might. She may not. But you never know. She could. Also, let me just give you a couple of announcements. So today is Tip Tuesday. So we are going to be talking about, let me get it up there. Let it Tip Tuesday. Today is 10 best practices for smartphone travel photography. So smartphone travel photography is what we're doing today on our Tip Tuesday. So hang in there. That's the last half hour of our program. We dive right into Tip Tuesday, and right now it's all about what's going on in the world, and also tomorrow we have Jamel Shabazz who's going to be here live for our Wisdom Wednesday. I am so excited about Jamel Shabazz being here. I will be going to an event this evening right after this to celebrate him and a bunch of other photographers at ICP. That's going to be beautiful tonight. So it's been a nonstop day, and I'm excited because guess what? I have the energy to do it. So many people don't have it. They just stuck home. So I'm glad to be able to go out and about and support people, celebrate people, encourage people, be a blessing to people, because that's what life is all about. Where at the end of the day, no one will remember what you gave them. No one will remember what material thing you gave them. All they're going to remember is how you made them feel. That's what they're going to remember on their deathbed. And that's when they're going to remember of you when you're on yours. He made me feel like $1,000,000. That's what we should all strive for. Making people feel like they are $1,000,000. Okay, so I'm going to take this off the screen. And guess who I'm going to bring on with no further ado? Because she makes me happy every time she's on here. Dr. Tachi.
Hey, you make me happy, sir.
I am like, my body's like, oh, because when you're photographing all day, your hands are up, you're moving around, you're changing cameras, so but it
Yes.
was such a great event. Verizon, it was an event for small business owners. And
Oh,
Verizon has an amazing program that I did not know about that caters to small businesses.
I think I heard something about that before. So you got to take photos for them.
Yes, they had a big event in the fashion district just north of Chelsea,
Ooh.
and at one of the hotels. Beautiful location, beautiful spot, and they talked about AI. I learned some stuff about
Mm.
AI. They talked about programs. There's seminars and coaching and encouragement and support, and it was really fascinating. I looked at my friend who recommended me from the Manhattan Chamber. She recommended me to be the photographer for their
Oh,
reason. And it goes to show you, you never know who's watching what you're doing. So always excel in everything you do because then it will open the door for something else.
and be kind to people because do you think if you weren't a kind person that she would have recommended you for things?
Well, kindness always goes 1,000 miles.
Always does.
Kindness, I say kindness is everything. How you treat, again, like I said in the opening, people are not going to remember how much money you made. People are not going to remember what was your accolades, what your diplomas were, your scholarships, and your all the banners and documents on the wall of all your accomplishments. People are only going to remember how you make them feel.
That's right. 100% correct.
That's it. It's all about how you make people feel. If you make people feel like they're $1 million, they will remember feeling like $1 million in your presence.
Feels like a motivation Monday. Sheesh, John. Sheesh.
Look who's in the building. Elise is in the building. What's
Hey, Miss
going on,
Elise.
Elise? Our
How
wonderful
are
Elise.
you?
She says, hello, Dr. Tachi. She says, hello, Ron
Hello.
and Dr. Tachi. And we have Indie Soup Media is in the building. We have also Elise is still talking. She says networking is so important. It really is. That's why I preach it, I teach it, I share it. You have to network. And if you're going to be in business, you really need to network. And again, it's not so much what people can do for you, it's what you can do for them.
Yes. What is that thing? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your
There you
country.
go. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, is being there for others. And I thank God for the opportunity in life to be able to be taught at a young age to serve people, to
Yes,
serve others. It makes a difference.
it
So,
really does.
so there's a lot in the news, and I, I'm embarrassed to say, but I'm going to say it. I went down a rabbit hole yesterday, because I was editing photos for for Brooklyn, for Fort Greene Conservancy. They had an
Okay.
event last Thursday, which I photographed, and so I had to get their photos out to them last night. So I wanted to get that to them, so that way they had it by this morning, so they could put it out for their PR and
Okay.
all this stuff. So I sent them out about 115 photos. But while I was
Ooh.
editing, I went down this rabbit hole, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I've gone down this rabbit hole, because it's not what something I would normally do, but I did, and that is the P Diddy rabbit hole. And I have to tell you, if for those that don't believe in the algorithms are for real. I clicked
It's
on
real.
one thing, and it brought me to another thing. Then it brought me to another thing. And I thought I knew the basics of information of P. Diddy. This event that has happened last week, him going to jail, and he's in jail right now, waiting to, whatever they're going to do with him. Um, Man, there is so many people that this is affecting and going to affect, and and now so many people are starting to speak out and come out and share. I was like, holy moly, Ron, why did you go down this hole?
First of all, when once don't go on a trajectory you don't want to be on for a while, because then you'll have to do some searches for some other things to clear that all out. I'm
Yes,
telling you,
yes.
if you so usually if I do some sort of, well, on Instagram and TikTok, you can't really do that because you have to be signed in. But if you, for example, YouTube, and there's something you want to search and you don't want that to clog up your algorithm forever, I always go incognito, and then I search for the things so that I can see it that way. Otherwise,
Wow.
you spend time. I'm like, okay, yeah, if you do like search for P. Diddy that's all you get.
That's all I
The
got yesterday.
algorithm feeds you more
It
of
kept
what you're already searching
feeding.
of.
It kept feeding. Even this morning, I just walked in the house. I just walked in the house to go on and see what was the news for today. Because you know me, I like to be. I didn't really see the news all day today. Um,
Yes.
and I said, let me pop on and see what the news. And guess what was right there? Bing! Mays exposed how he escaped Diddy's torture.
Yes. Listen, and we were talking about this last week on Mediascope.
Excuse me. Yes.
This is the least. Diddy is the least of them in this whole thing. He
Yes.
is low hanging fruit. He
Yes.
is usually what happens is the person that they'll have to take the fall or whatever is the loudest and the most boisterous. Enter Diddy, right? Or Puffy, as he was
Oh,
called. So we talked about this last week, and to us, it seemed people were bringing up, yeah, there's other people involved. There's a bigger picture here,
it's
and
huge.
it's
It's
huge. And
huge.
usually that's the thing when you have this type of thing, call them rings, sex rings, or whatever. Rarely is it, we've got the leader. Rarely is it there. It's usually bigger than what we see. It's like that whole tip of the iceberg type thing. We just see the leader. It may seem ominous on the surface, but then you look below and it goes several thousand miles deep.
You know, they
That's what
said,
this is.
but they said on the day that Diddy was arrested, I think it was the day he was arrested or the day he was arraigned. So maybe it was the day he was arraigned.
Okay.
27 people all at once resigned from whatever they were doing around this city or around the country. 27 people resigned from their positions
Hmm.
because of their connection to this story. 27 people that we know of.
Exactly. That again, bigger than what we see that we know of. And so it could very well be. It doesn't mean that they necessarily had anything directly to do egregiously with it,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be they were part of a brigade who stood idly by and did nothing. But they
Mm.
could be identified as having been around him at these soirees, shall we call him? There's
Yeah,
so much. And, I was just saying this today. It takes so much energy to be evil.
it does.
It takes so much energy to be evil. Why not just be good? Whether that means you're of God, whether that means you're just a good person, can you just be good? Because all of this, now look at what happens. You have to clean up the tracks and now you have to resign. It takes so much energy to be evil. It really does.
Elise says there are several music executives who resigned. Not
Resigned.
only that, presidents of colleges. There's been a whole lot of people that resigned in the last 7 days, and it's just, and then it's like, and like I said, I went down a rabbit hole last night, and things I didn't even, you know, I remember when I was growing up. I was saying when I was growing up, this was in the '90s, I guess, when the whole shootings in New York City at the studio, and J Lo and Puffy
Yes.
together, and Shine and all these people. I was like, I mean, it felt like I was like distant because I wasn't really a P Diddy fan. That wasn't my thing.
Right.
It was just,
Exactly.
I mean, one or two songs I may have liked, so but it wasn't my thing. But I was like, holy moly! So it again, the algorithms when they want to feed you, they feed you. Because I kept going. It was one show after another after another, and I start seeing all these old clips and stories um but it was the most fascinating. I have to tell you it what happens. I am really I am afraid.
Okay.
I don't know why what I don't know why I would be afraid, but I just think like yesterday or 2 days ago they said that P Diddy is on suicide watch.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I
Yes.
am afraid that they are going to do a Epstein. And I
That,
think they're preparing us for something diabolical. And I just felt like that. I don't know if it's true, but I was like, why are they telling us that this man is on suicide watch? It doesn't make sense. I don't I,
it doesn't make sense, except that people will start to draw parallels between this and the Epstein case.
yes.
And so, in lieu of that, and in, if you want to call it transparency, I think this is what's happening. Also, let's not forget that this is an entertainment story. This is one
Yes.
of the biggest figures in music slash entertainment, I would say, of the 20th century, one of the biggest.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that news agencies would want to go after this story. But remember, they're going after this story because what? It's a big story that will put them high in the ratings, which means
Mm,
that advertisers will want to advertise. So despite the fact, and we were just talking about the fact that there are people involved with this, real
yes.
people that were victimized. I won't call them victims, but
Yes.
they were victimized
Yes.
by him and the rest of the crew. So there are real people that are involved here, definitely. What I don't want, because this is what I'm also starting to hear. Now, I've seen there is a headline, I think, was it The Wrap or Hollywood Reporter? I don't remember, but it's like people are calling him the Bill Cosby of hip hop.
Interesting.
Yes. And with that, now I haven't heard as much talk about this as I did with Bill Cosby, but you know that our folk like to be apologists for people.
Yes. Yes.
Despite what anybody does, when they are wrong on the surface and you see it, because, and I understand why, it's because of the history that we've experienced in this country that you get overly defensive and overly protective of people who look like you, even if you know good and well that probably there was some wrongdoing there, but
Yes.
you're protective. But I don't want us to get mixed up comparing like the Epstein case and comparing this, even though they're similar, looking at it in terms of race and like, oh, well, they didn't do this for him. It doesn't matter. The point is, we are not looking at equal treatment under the law right now at this point. That doesn't
Exactly.
mean that is not a thing. The point is he did something wrong and he needs to pay for it, because I remember the discourse went around Bill Cosby and people were like,
Yes.
oh, well,
Yes.
he was, no, he did something. He needs to pay for it. Stop apologizing for him because he is black. And I don't think it's going to go down this road, but you know, there are some people who will go down this road. So I don't want us to conflict equal treatment under the law with
Mm,
being punished for what you've done.
mm. See, see. That's why I knew you would be. I said,
Hey,
I said,
listen,
Tachi is. Dr. Tachi knows how to take us there, because I mean, this is your area. You know
yeah,
media. You know different parts of media. What makes media tick? What's like you immediately went straight there to the gist of it all. Is is to be made,
yeah,
marketing and advertisers.
yeah.
And you took us exactly where this is all about, because people are now on the bandwagon. Because think about all these people that I saw their YouTube channel for the first time. Those people probably are getting hundreds and hundreds of subscribers
Yeah.
because they are putting together these stories, whether they are true or half truths or speculation or just running around with headlines. They are still grabbing subscribers, they're still grabbing attention, they're still getting numbers, and people are just really out to get on the bandwagon
Oh my gosh.
of the story.
I mean, if there was a bandwagon to get one, this one is a Hummer. Okay, this is a Hummer, not even just a wagon. You know, those
Yes,
huge, ridiculous
yes.
machines. And so, what I've seen is like, okay, we've all seen the memes and the jokes about the baby oil. We've heard, I mean, and this has actually been before, you know, people would say, oh, no, Diddy. This is even before all of this actually came out, when they were first with the tape with Cat, or the recording, I should say, with Cassie on it and him brutalizing her. We
Mhm.
started to see these types of things happen. Now, two things. Number one, none of this is funny. None of this is
No.
really memeable. And it begs the question of, do we have nothing else to talk about? Number two, I do understand when you look at it, look at comedians. Comedians have a habit of using current events and making jokes about them, and they've
Mm.
always done this. So I kind of expected this from the community of comedians, or the
Yeah.
comedian community. So I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking more so about the Instagrammer who's just trying to get big and uses this to the advantage.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, and I'm not saying for everybody, but look at us and people of color in general, but particularly Black people, how we have always used humor to transcend deplorable situations. Now, I'm not saying this is the case for everyone, but I think one of the reasons that humor is so big in our community when it comes to these types of diabolical acts is because it's a way of trying to transcend. Because let's
Mm,
think about this. We're looking at, yeah, Diddy represents himself, but he also represents Black men. The overly
mm.
sexualized, the overly aggressive, the overly or toxic masculinity trope. So all of that is there. And so even though you don't want it to, we can all say, you know, that he doesn't represent me. In the public's eye, he does, right?
Yes.
So this does have a personal effect on you if you're Black, even though you say it doesn't. And for the most part, no, you're not involved. But then you can look at everybody involved. If you're a Black man, unfortunately, what that behavior will speak for all Black men, and it's the same thing for all Black
Mm.
women. So there are deeper layers here that we have to peel back. And I think sometimes humor is a way to deal with all of that. You already know you're going to get it because here is another Black man who, of course, is overly sexualized. So now I have to defend that no, I'm not related to him, or no, I don't know him. No, I don't like hip hop just because of, you know, those types of things. So it's really a paradox. It's the paradox of being Black.
Elise says, it's the idea of we have to laugh to keep from crying.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
a pretty deep statement.
Absolutely.
And like, it's just one of those things that I just sat there and said, wow. I mean, and again, it's just so many people are going to be. In the last week, I've heard so many reports, and obviously, like I said, yesterday was the rabbit hole day, and it just kept feeding. It was amazing how the YouTube algorithm, every time one thing would end, it would just give me another, another suggestion of something that was just posted. Like today is this whole Maze exposes how he escaped P. Diddy's torture. That was today, and it's already trending at 500,000 views. It's where we are, right? Here's another
Listen,
question, though.
yeah.
Here's something else that was trending yesterday. That when we were on yesterday, I didn't know what was going on with Janet Jackson, and people were
Sorry, let me
losing
fix
their
my
minds
face.
about Janet Jackson. And yesterday, I obviously now after the morning that we were together, I got to see what was happening during the day. Throughout the day again. This was not a rabbit hole because I wasn't into what I didn't even know what Janet Jackson said until like later on in the day.
Okay.
And so now everyone's got obviously their post. Is she a Trumpster? Is she voting for Kamala? I mean, I've heard it all this morning. But I like what Elise says also. Elise says a lot of this stuff is also distractions. We are in the most critical of voting season. We cannot afford to be distracted from any of this. With any of this, we cannot be distracted. We must still continue to share about Project 2025. We must still share that early voting is now in operation in some states. More will be starting next week.
Hmm.
And people need to get it together when it comes to early voting. Get it in now. Do not wait for the last moment. And so all of these little things are distractions. And they, even the point of Kamala is not giving policy. Well, Kamala is giving more policy than the orange man has given in all of his time in the White House. She's given more in 2 weeks, 2 months, than he's given in the whole time he's been in public view. This man has
Precisely.
nothing. But again, I have to, when Elise said that distraction, yeah, it just keeps that bell ringing. You have that little bell saying ding, 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 ding. Don't get distracted.
Precisely.
Stay focused.
Precisely. But you have to remember many humans are like, ooh, a puppy. That's all you need to have a puppy walk by or something interesting walk by. And I use this as an example when I haven't taught public speaking on the university level in a long time. But when I did, I always use the example of this, that you constantly have to keep people's attention with different
Yes.
devices, because all it takes is for something to like fall outside and everybody looks like this, because we are easily
Easily
distracted.
distracted.
Easily distracted. So we have a job to do. Despite the sadness of the situation with Puffy, despite all of what's going on, Janet Jackson opening her foolish full-time fool mouth, there was no reason for her to say anything, but we can't get distracted by that. And this also shows how deeply entrenched we are in entertainment. And there's nothing
Yes.
wrong with entertainment, but it has become an escape device for us because real life is so terrible often. And so we
Mm,
escape into music. We escape and there's nothing wrong with that escapism, because I'm involved in the entertainment industry too. But I also know when it's time to get down to business and do other things. Some people don't. And that's
mm,
because everyday life for some people is just so difficult that it feels good to escape into reality TV, etc.
mm.
So some of us are so entrenched, which is why we get so distracted as soon as things like this happen. And I submit this. Definitely there does tend to be some extra distractions around the time of elections,
It does. It
whatever time.
happens every time.
It happens every time, but I submit this, that they've always happened, but the media just pays more attention to them. So it seems like it's more of a
Ah,
distraction.
thank
No,
you.
this diabolical nonsense has always happened,
That's
because if
right.
we look at, this entire year up until this point, look at how many things have happened right up until
Yeah.
this point. So now you're just adding the weight of a presidential election to that, and to assassination attempts, and all of these other things, somebody dropping out of a race. So it just makes it seem like there's so much more than there actually is. So there's always this amount of wahala. The media is just more honed in on it during this time.
Whew. Give us wisdom, dear. Give us wisdom. Give us wisdom. Here's the other thing that was this happened this week. Usually we go into the politics and what's going
Yeah.
on Thursdays, but it's happening at such a fast pace. You have to talk about it every day,
Yeah,
as in
absolutely.
just to keep up what's going on, so that people know what's going on. So we had this. I was talking to some friends was it yesterday or 2 days ago, and maybe it was both days, and I have to say, I did not believe in reincarnation. I just was like, maybe, maybe not, maybe not. Maybe people are reincarnated. This guy in North Carolina makes me a believer. The lieutenant governor of North Carolina makes me a believer that there has to be some truth to reincarnation. I am convinced. This is just my own thoughts. My own thoughts. We can talk about it or leave it alone.
Okay.
But I was like, he had to be a Confederate soldier or of some racist slave owner reincarnated into this black guy, into this black man. No one. I mean, I've heard some black folks in conservative arenas say some stupid stuff. Shoot, I've said some stupid stuff being a Republican and being in a conservative framework. However, I have never seen anything so like at the basement, like below the basement of I mean, I believe in slavery, and if slavery was instituted, I would buy me one or
No, you
buy me
would be
some.
one.
which
Negro.
we're not even thinking that he would be one.
So yeah, no, I can see how you see
I
reincarnation.
said, this man has to be reincarnated. I mean, and then to say he's a black Nazi, and to say, I mean, every Confederate thing that would be said, because I like that kind of reading, meaning history, war history.
Yeah.
And I've read some of the stuff that soldiers and Confederate people have said in in books and in history. And I said, this man he's reincarnated. This is a and I know I pinpointed to a Confederate soldier because obviously I read that kind of book. And
Yeah.
I said, this guy is a Confederate soldier reincarnated. I've never seen anyone, I've never heard, and I'm sure there's more like him out there, but I
Yes.
have never seen anything this far gone in an
Listen,
individual.
I'm convinced that he was in the 55th Battalion of the Confederacy, and his name was Stanley Jim Bob Jefferson. Okay, that I'm convinced of that. So before I go into the whole thing with that, I so my family, if you and you know because you've been to Nigeria before, um, my family believes in reincarnation, and if you think about,
Really?
yeah, a lot of African families do. So fun fact, like my parents were not Christians until very late, and that's when missionaries came. They
Yes.
believed in African traditional beliefs like when they were young.
Yes.
So it was only, and so that's why I was like, why is your name Mary? It's not. It was after, the missionaries came and they just did everything. I have my own feelings about things like that.
Oh yeah,
But
because the
so
missionaries came and then everybody had to rename themselves in most of the continent of
exactly,
Africa.
and
They
rename
became
exactly.
Bob's, Peters, and Marys, and when they used to be Ebola, Alumide, and
Yeah,
and so on.
exactly. Exactly. So, like, and my father's first name is Israel. So, all of those things, I'm like, now we know, but they went by their African names. So, because they have Middle African names, but that was all the thing of missionaries. But generally, when you think about it, what are people? What are things? Energy. And energy is never destroyed. We know that from the laws of physics. It
True.
just reforms into some other shape or some
It's
other
something
form.
else.
But energy is never, never goes away. It's never destroyed. And so in my family, there are like my cousin, they call her Da. Da means mother. And so they
Hmm.
believe that she is the reincarnation of her grandmother.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
So there are a lot of cultures that
Well, in
believe
Indian
that.
culture, they believe in reincarnation,
They
right?
do. They do.
So, and I wasn't. I mean, obviously, I mean, like, I've studied world religions. I have a book back there in my library with all these world religions, and I've studied most of them. And there's more people that believe in reincarnation that don't believe in it. And but I tell you, this dude has made me double rego what do you say, take a second look at the thought.
Reincarnation. And this is the thing too. If we're not looking at it from a reincarnation standpoint, we're looking at it in terms of the hatred that hate built, the hatred that has been instilled in people. There are people that so hate their blackness that they
Mm,
are willing to go to the other extreme in order to be accepted by non-melanated America.
mm.
It's that deep for some people. So
But
the fact,
but
go ahead.
isn't it kind of whack that you you want to be accepted on such a level of, I need to be accepted by people other than black folks, meaning that, and you are black. It's kind of it's kind of I guess there's no other word but self-hate.
Yeah, well, history teaches us that the closer you are, and this is worldwide, the closer you are to the preferred class, in many cases, the preferred class is also intertwined with whiteness, the better for you. So you think.
Mm-hmm.
They did a very good job of saying that. We can look at cases in Australia and the taking of indigenous children
Mm-hmm.
and placing them with white families, and in the hope of de-indigenizing them, which is not a word, but I'm making them
Mm-hmm.
one. And to mix out that, if I'm not going to outright kill you, let me at least mix out some of that. Now, that's not a stance against that, but forcing that is problematic. So we can look at different things in history. So you end up with that indoctrination, you end up with so
Mm.
much self-hatred. And we already know through studies, I can't remember, you may remember the name of this, where things happen so much that it just becomes part of your genetic makeup.
Yeah.
So when we talk about post-traumatic slave or slavery
Yes.
syndrome, it's a real thing because after a while, you've been so indoctrinated that it just becomes part of your DNA, and now it's something that you can pass down.
Well, that I mean that what they that's what some of the theory of slavery itself is, that because you have 400 years of mistreatment, abuse, children being ripped away from their parents, husbands being ripped away from their wives, being ripped away from their husbands, the abuse of the master and of the wife, and people don't. I know people don't talk about this part. One of my friends, he's an author, he was writing a book about this, but there's no evidence, because you think about, it wasn't just the women that were sexually abused during slavery, it was the men also.
Yes.
And most people don't talk
Yes.
about that part of slavery, is that so the men were taking, they were had their masculinity ripped away from them by their slave owners. And so you have all these layers of what they call trauma, and that black people, or any people that have been enslaved, or for instance, I'm looking at this TV show called Pachinko, I think it is.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
it's about the Korean family that is raised in in Japan, how
Hmm.
they were taken away from Korea and brought to Japan. And you sit there and you are looking, when you look at the history of Japan, and you sit there and say, the Korean folks look exactly like the Japanese folks. There's some differences,
Right.
but the Japanese totally crushed the 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 whole being of being Korean. They made them slaves, as in they tortured them. They looked down on them. They had to work so hard to fit into society, even though they were brought into that culture. And you look at how abusive the Japanese were with the Koreans. And this takes us to, Elise is a believer of this, and we all saw the movie, for most of us, The Cast. When you look at the Indian people that were racist, or not, I don't want to call it racist, but had hatred for the underclass.
Hmm.
So it's just, human beings have this thing that they have to look down on another. I mean, think about America. When the Irish first came to America, no one wanted to deal with the Irish. I mean, the Irish were just slightly above being a slave, being a black person. I mean, and that's why a lot of them became part of the KKK and all other stuff later on, and all, stuff like that. The but they every class of people that comes into a culture is always looked down on and trashed, and it is something that's one flaw in humanity that seems to be constant, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what culture you're in. there's always we are better than them.
You know, though, this is it always is there, but I always look at who is the antecedent to that. Now, that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that there were not divisions by class.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have a ruling class, you have things like that,
Mm-hmm.
depending on where you are. But let's look at how Western society has really exacerbated
He's true. Very true.
the divisions, maybe some of the slight divisions that existed, and took them and ran. Uh, as someone that comes from a country that had a civil war, and this is why my parents could not go back,
Yes.
of the persecuted group, you see that. And that's usually because there's something they want. It is to their advantage to divide you. In Nigeria's case, there was oil, and we want that. So, how do we get that easily? By exacerbating differences that are there, drawing our own unnatural borders and lines, and calling countries what the hell we like, and then pitting people against each other.
Same thing
I
with
need
Rwanda.
us.
Rwanda is the same thing,
Rwanda too, Rwanda
but
and Burundi.
I see that I see the threat you're going though. A lot of it in our world, in our the last 400, 500, maybe 400, 300 years is definitely can find its roots in colonization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And colonization to get resources, be
Yes.
it land, be it minerals, which is why I'm so annoyed with what him said, and that's all I can call him. Him said
Mm-hmm.
regarding Congo. I'm like, first of all, you're lying. And I said this, I filled in on Dr. Vibe show, and we keep saying he lies. Well, yes. And someone who lies consistently more than they tell the truth is classified as a
A
liar.
liar.
It is not, when we say liar, we're talking about what he is. That's his character. He is a liar. When we say he lies, he could be a good person other than the fact that he lied. No,
Correct.
he is a liar. So let's get it right.
Liar.
He is a liar.
Because everything he says
Is a
is a
lie.
lie.
Therefore, he's a liar.
Man. Dr. Tachi, I'm gonna teach a lesson now. But you,
Yes.
whew, can you believe 45 minutes has gone by that fast?
I can it flew. It flew. And it's because we're like having our normal phone conversation.
This is how we are on the phone. We are, I mean, I love this is why I surround myself with people that are I always say smarter than myself. I love being around people that are smart because you learn so much and you can just have these conversations that make you kind of like just think. It makes you
Yes.
think, like the whole reincarnation of this, this Mark Robinson. And you sit there and you go, or you think about, like you said, your parents were children of a civil war. They fled from a civil war. And I mention it all the time when I'm to my friends about Nigeria, is that Nigeria has such amazing infrastructure, but it was the civil war that destroyed it.
Hmm.
There's still some things left, but there was a beautiful country created. Um, and then war is not a good thing. And I could go into, because right now with the thing that's going on in Israel and Lebanon, that's a whole nother story for another day.
Right.
I am a little discouraged about what's happening over there. I do believe also that some of this, without any proof, obviously, this is just speculation, is that some of this is also, I think Netanyahu is working as a agent. He's killing two birds with one stone. One is if he creates a world war, I mean not a world war, but a war in Israel and Lebanon, and that would be a situation that keeps our eyes off of what we need to keep our eyes on in
Hmm.
America,
Hmm.
and that people will say, oh, you know what, we are going to have to vote for Trump because he's a man and he's a strong man and he is going to be the one that we need during a wartime This is their mindset. I can't help but think that that's what not Netanyahu did when he went down to Mar-a-Lago after he met with the senators here in well in
There's
DC.
exactly. And my thing is, I'll say this quickly. Why are you meeting with a head of state and
Yes,
you are not a head of state? That's not your
exactly,
friend. You all have never met before on that ground. Why is he there? So, but the unfortunate thing is, there are enough daft fools in this country that fall for. I mean, I've heard the whole strength thing. No, you have to have wit and sense and intelligence to be
exactly,
strong. He has
exactly,
none of that.
exactly. And
That's the
it's
weakest link. Goodbye.
he right. Goodbye, weakest link. Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, Dr. Tachi, I gotta let you go. I gotta do this
Thank
lesson
you.
because I make sure I gotta get it a good get some good tips in for today.
Yes, I will
But
be in the comments.
this was so good, man. I love conversations with you, man.
Likewise.
Uh,
Likewise.
this was good. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I hope it just, again, it's conversation, so people can get out of it what they need, or
Yeah.
they can say, hey, I don't agree with you, Ron, and Dr. Tachi, and that's
And that's
okay too.
okay. That's
That's
fine.
what conversation's about. And
Yeah.
it's okay that you don't agree. It's okay that you don't. No one's going to agree with anyone 100%. But
Right.
it's good. It's healthy to be able to throw your thoughts into the square. That's why I
Yes.
love going. As I said, I always like to. I like going to um, Spanish countries like in Spain, or going to Paris. Mainly it's in Spain. Spain is where I saw it a lot, or Malta, or some of these places, or Italy, where people hang out in the square and they just talk. In Nigeria they do the same thing. You go down to the
Yes.
market and everybody's talking about politics. They're talking about American politics, British politics. They're talking about all this, but it is not because everyone has to prove themselves right. They're
Right.
just sharing their thoughts. And so
Sharing their
this was a
thoughts.
good marketplace conversation.
And that's what civil discourse is. And really quickly, I just want to say shout out to Indie Soup
Mhm.
Media because we are live on Indie Soup Media. Usually
That's
we're
right.
playing your replay from 10 a.m., but right now we are live in the moment. So enjoy.
Live on Indie Soup.
Yes.
Ugh, how often does that happen?
Not at all. This is the
This is
first
the
time.
first time.
Yeah.
Yes. So all the Indie Soup folks out there, it's so good to be live with you all. You're usually looking at my repeats, and today you are live with us. So anyway, I'm going to let Dr. Tachi go. This was so good, and I'm
Thank
going to
you.
now go straight into our lesson. Thank you, Dee.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So, guys, let's go straight to it. So today is Tip Tuesday. So you know what that means? That means we are going to get some education when it comes to photography tips today. So here we go. Tip Tuesday. Today is all about 10 best practices for smartphone travel photography. Today today we're diving into the world of smartphone travel photography. Whether you are exploring new cities or hiking through breathtaking landscapes, your smartphone can be a powerful tool to capture stunning travel photos. Here are some best practices to elevate your travel photography game. One, you know what I always say. Let me just get that little banner out of the way there so that we can see. You know what I always say. Clean your lens. Number one is I'm like that. I'm like that old movie. No more wire hangers. But no. Clean your lens. Before you start shooting, make sure your smartphone lens is clean and a quick wipe with a microfiber cloth can make a huge difference in the clarity of your photos. And I'm sure I have one here in my pocket because I was out on duty and I always have one in my pocket. Here we go. And I always say, if you need to go to an eyeglass place and grab one, go and grab one of these microfiber cloths that you get to wipe your glasses. They're also good for your phone lenses. As a matter of fact, Try not to wipe your lens on your phone with tissue. Don't use tissue on your lenses. It scratches the lens, it scratches the lens in the back here, and it scratches the lens in the front. Do not use tissue paper. Do not use paper towels. Don't use anything that's not soft, like a Microsoft, well, microfiber, I should say, cloth. Make sure you do that. Always wipe it down, wipe the lens, do that, give it a nice wiping, and then take the shot. Okay? So there you have it. Number 2, use natural light. Natural light is your best friend. Try to shoot during the golden hours, shortly after sunrise and before sunset, when the light is soft and warm. Avoid the harsh midday sun, which can create strong shadows and highlights. You know what the old saying is? Everybody looks good to sunlight. Everyone looks good to sunlight. So, early in the morning, get up, take pictures. In the evening, as you get towards the sunset, like the end of the day, take out your camera and photograph. Buildings look good. People look good, but people really, I mean, the golden hour is the hour before the sun sets and the hour after the sun rises. That's the golden hour. However, if you want to take pictures of architecture, make sure you take pictures the hour after the sun sets, and that's called the blue hour. The blue hour. And the hour before the sun rises is also called the blue hour. That's right, Serena. No tissue or paper towels. You will scratch up your lens on your phone. Make sure you don't do that. Okay. But again, natural light, y'all. Natural light. Okay. Everyone looks good to the sun setting. Here we go. Next, tap to focus and adjust exposure. I think we talked about this before, that on your screen, everywhere you tap, you're going to see a little box. It's a focus box. That box is going to move. Everywhere you put your finger, it's going to change the exposure, meaning light and darkness, how light the picture will be, how dark the picture will be. And at the same time, anywhere you put your finger on that phone while you're photographing, it is also going to focus and make that place clear and sharp and clean. So people say, "Oh, why is my pictures always out of focus?" That's because you did not take your index finger or one of your fingers and put your finger on the subject. So let's say you have your baby boy and you want to photograph the baby boy. You want to make sure you take your finger and put that little focus mark right on his eye, and it will focus clearly, and the computer will know to take a sharp picture. Now you notice I said the eye. Why did I say the eye? Because most cameras are calibrated to focus on your eye. Why? Because your eye has the contrast, the white and the black of your eye, or the white and the brown of your eye, and the white and the blue of your eye. The contrast is what the camera uses to focus and make sharp the image. Does that make sense? So, tap to focus and to adjust your exposure. You notice also, if you put your finger on light areas, your camera gets dark. If you put your finger on a dark area, the exposure gets light. So play with that. Go dark, go light, go dark, go light. Okay, there you go. So tap on your screen to focus on your subject and adjust the exposure. On most smartphones, you can slide your finger up or down to brighten or darken the image. This helps you get the perfect balance of light and details. Yes, some cameras, if you just simply go onto the side and slide up or down, you can also change your exposure. Okay, next. Avoid digital zoom. You know how I feel about that. I say it every time. Do not use the digital zoom. Use one of the lenses, like you have 3 lenses on your camera, right? Use one of those, and you can just click on lens 1, lens 2, or lens 3, which is usually normal, wide, or zoom. But do not pinch the screen and open up and zoom into something. That picture will not be clear. It will look distorted. It will have pixelation. It will be not too good. Okay? Do not use the digital zoom by pinching in and out. Move closer or move back. You are your zoom lens. You are your zoom lens. When I have my fixed lenses, like a 35mm lens, I do not have a zoom lens to go in and out. I just simply move closer or I move backwards. You are the zoom. You are the zoom. Or use one of the 3 lenses on your smartphone. Next, use the grid lines for composition. You know, we have this class. We talked about this before. So for those that are new, let's talk about it again. On your phone, you can put into your phone and click on grid. Grid. Turn on the grid. Go into your settings and turn on the grid. What is the grid used for? The grid looks like it has 9 squares. 3 going across, 3 in the middle, 3 at the bottom, right? And with that will help you, one, with those lines to even your horizon so that your picture is not lopsided, or keep your vertical straight, like especially when you're taking pictures of buildings, you're not leaning to the left or to the right. You're lined up. So your grid will help you line up, line your horizon, line your vertical, line your landscape, line your portrait. Okay, here we go. Turn on the grid lines in your camera settings to help with composition. The rule of thirds is a great guideline. Place your subject along the guidelines or at their intersection to create balance and visual appealing shoots. Sorry, my little thing is there. My little guy is in there. Appeal shots. Okay, appealing shots. Okay, so make sure that you get that grid line turned on. Turn on the grid. Turn on the grid. And it'll help you with composition. And we've talked about composition before, but if you want to go to some of my other videos, you'll see on Tip Tuesdays, we talked about composition and using the grid lines. Okay? Also, experiment with angles and perspectives. Don't be afraid to get creative with your angles. Shoot from high above, down from below, and from unique perspectives to add interest and variety to your photos, right? Make sure you do that. Make sure, don't just be boring like everyone else and just take pictures head on, right? We in this community already know, because I've talked about this 1,000 times. Go from the left, your left, your right, right? And then take pictures from below, take pictures from above, and then that will make your photos more interesting. Don't be afraid to get creative. Next, capture candid moments. Some of the best travel photos are candid shots and capture the essence of a place and its people. Keep your camera ready to snap those spontaneous moments. like the like the biker on a bike roaming through the sunlight. Like the reflection is on the sheen of the water is on the ground, and the sun is coming through the sky, or light somewhere is coming in, and the guy on the bike is riding through. A beautiful shot. It's spontaneous. It just happens. Or you see a guy with his girl, or two people just kind of like making out and just laughing and giggling in the square. Take pictures. Take pictures of the people. Take pictures of the architecture. Take pictures of everything to tell your story. Right? Tell your story. Next, edit thoughtfully. This is so important. Use editing apps like Snapseed or Lightroom to enhance your photos. Adjust brightness, contrast, and saturation to bring out the best in your images, but avoid over editing. So, your pictures are more than just a click of the button. It is also how you edit them. And in your phone, you have an editing tool in your phone. You don't even need anything else. But if you want something a little bit more advanced, go for Snapseed, go for Lightroom, go for Photoshop. There's a bunch of them out there. Download them onto your phone. Use them to edit your images, right? And you'll have better pictures. Next, keep your phone steady. To avoid blurry photos, keep your phone steady. Use both hands. Lean against a stable surface, or use a small tripod or a portable stabilizer for adding stability, or for added stability. I have a little stick that I carry in my bag. It's always with me. I can pull out those legs if I need to. I have one down here that I use all the time. I could fold this little baby up, see, like this, and put it in my bag, and take it and take off the bottom. Oops, look at that. Let me show you what I can do with this. Take this off and put it in my bag, and I'm ready to go. Right? Here we go. It is so easy to have one of those little devices. But also, if you don't, take your phone, use two hands, create what I call the triangle. So you got angle here, create a triangle of support. Have your elbows on your sides or your chest or your stomach, kind of like just station them, and then take your picture, and that's going to give you stability. And then you can take the picture and it's going to be sharper. You're not shaking, you're not moving, and you're not moving all over the place, and that makes the picture blurry. But if you can take your hands, your two hands, create what's called the triangle of stability. Usually they call it 3 points. You should be connected on 3 points. 1, 2, 3, 4 here with the elbows, right? 3 points. And make sure you are stationary to keep things stable. Okay? There you go. That's right. This is Bobby Stamp says, great info here, sir. I'm glad you appreciate that. I'm glad you appreciate that, Bobby. There you go. This is what we're here for. Tip Tuesdays. We always give good tips. If you are not on our Tip Tuesdays, you are missing out. But the good thing is, you can go through all the YouTube feed and just click on Tip Tuesdays and they'll all come up. You can just even Google it now. If you Google Ron Lewis Photos Tip Tuesdays, all the lessons will come up. They're here. That's why we do it, to help people, to help you become better photographers. Next, remember, at the end of the day, when you are using your camera, when you take this camera out, I got two of them over here. When you take out these cameras, these phones, because they're not really phones, they're really computers, cameras. You are using them to tell your story. Tell your story. Here we go. Think about the story you want to tell with your photos. Capture a mix of wide shots, close ups, and details to create a narrative of your travel experience. So when you're traveling through town, or you're in Paris, or you are in, Barbados or Jamaica or Europe or Iceland or Chattanooga, Tennessee, or wherever you decide to go on vacation, remember to take pictures of different angles, capture them wide, get close in, detail shots, and then put it together in a digital photo album, and create a story and label it My Week in Panama. And then in that folder, all your photos for Panama, right? Different angles and looks and feels, and you tell your story. That's what it's all about. Tell your story. That's what we do as photographers. We tell stories, visual storytellers. Here's some pictures that I wanted to share with you all. These are pictures from stock photos from Microsoft. Because the reason why I don't use my photos is because my photos are too big for this stream. But these are the kind of photos I would be taking. Look at that. Oh, Lord, I wish I was there. Take pictures. Tell your story. And here we go to summarize. Remember, the best camera is the one you have with you. And with these tips, your smartphone can help you capture incredible travel memories. Happy shooting, and see you next Tuesday for more tips. Okay? So remember, the best camera you have is the camera you have with you. And don't get so caught up with all the, I need this, I need a Nikon, I need a Canon, I need a Fuji, I need a big camera. When I started photography, all I had was my smartphone. When I was in Spain, all I had was my smartphone. When I was in Iceland photographing and climbing a volcano to photograph a volcano, my Nikon got all fogged up and I couldn't use it. So guess what I had to use? My smartphone. And I got some really good shots. Don't get caught up in technology. Technology has its place. It is good. It is good to have great technology. But don't be the person waiting for great technology before you go out and take pictures. You can take pictures with your smartphone. Every one of us has a more than amazing phone photography gadget in our pockets. We all have a great phone in our pockets or bag or wherever, right? Don't be a slave to technology. Use the camera you have, and you will be able to tell your visual story. Okay? Okay, guys, thank you for joining us today on this Touch Base Daily. I got to let you go because I got to get dressed. I got to get ready to go to support my brother, Jamel Shabazz, who will be here tomorrow. I'm so excited. So tune in tomorrow. We'll be back at our regular time at 10 a.m. Jamel Shabazz, the great Jamel Shabazz, should I say, will be our guest tomorrow for our Wisdom Wednesday. I am so excited to be able to have him on here and to support this community. He's always supporting this community wherever in so many ways. And this is it's going to be exciting. Did this mean anything to you? Was this a blessing to you? Let me know. Let me know. Thank you, Mimi. Mimi says, thank you. It's always good to hear thanks. It's always. I see Hannah says, thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron. And Bobby says, will do, sir. Great lessons here. Thank you. There you go. Look, Most times you got to go to a class to get these lessons, but you're getting them here. You're getting them here. And also make sure, where's my banner? Where is my banner? I didn't put it out there today. Make sure, please remember to like, subscribe, and share my platform with others. So that way they can join in and be a part of our community. Okay? Make sure you do that. And I'm excited. I am excited. And I see Dr. Tachi says, this was great. And Kimmy says, enjoy. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for an amazing evening. I'm so glad you guys tuned in. I know we don't usually meet this time of the day, but we are here and you were here too. So thank you. Thank you, Serena. Thank you. Okay, I am out of here, guys. I will see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. fresh 10 a.m. Eastern time here in New York. And I will see you. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Should I get, where's my sound? Where's my sound? Where is it? Here we go.